Incoming hot take here, because I was thinking about, somebody had asked me, what were you thinking from Pearl Davis's Piers Morgan thing, and so I had to have more thoughts about this, and it led me to just suddenly have this very quick reminder in my mind about the passport bro phenomenon, which, I'm not. This is nothing. I don't. It's not my bag. I'm just an old dude. Just trying to save up some cash to do some trading. That's all I'm up to right now. And so, what now I was thinking about was kind of the HBD part of it. There's something, okay, so the people who are like, oh, there is no such thing as race, and they start citing all this information, especially about, it's very important, sometimes somebody who's totally different than you, like from a totally different group, that you get along really well with them, and it turns out that you're actually more genetically similar to them than even, say, somebody who's, within about, 3 degrees of separation of you in, like, your geographic area, same group. And so this leads to then this idea of, okay, so you'll find basically this idea of star-crossed lovers, I think is the term, one of the ideas, that it love at first sight of, like, two people who, they don't even speak the same language, but they just kind of fall for each other. And so if it is, we know that there are people you could be more genetically like who are totally different. And so these are just two people that they are complementary in that regard, and somehow, through the wonders of nature, they're detecting it. And so the thing is, though, this means that there's a lot of men that have been bred within the Black American community that will then get to a certain level of success, and they are not finding anybody who they have that kind of corresponding genetics. They don't. So this is where a lot of the evolutionary psychology happens. They're not finding somebody who is alike in that regard, and therefore complementary, that they would have, that offspring would, and multi-generational wealth, and the things that this person would think are normal. This man thinks this is normal, and that's not going to be what his child would have, or what he would want to be normal. So one of the interesting parts about this is that this is kind of a way of thinking about this, that this then explains a lot about sort of new nations of the post 1800s, how there were groups that had been at each other's throat and then got along real well, and ended up becoming relatively successul, and that the populations mixed, and so to some degree, and that so at the present time, like, there's a lot of people who don't think in that way. They don't think in, like, the various groups the country is made of anymore. So that the success of that can only be if at some point some people found each other to be complementary, that their genetics didn't fundamentally clash. But this is the issue that passport bros are kind of showing, is that there's women who are Black American women and Black American men are finding their genetics would likely clash. How so? Social media. And all the dating stuff that's going on, like complete and totally exposure, and people vetting each other for dating. I mean, they're vetting each other for it. Then at the end of it, what does he find? He's finding that he just doesn't mix with a lot of these women who he's thinking he should. He's been given most assurances from his own culture and everything, and his whole life, that he should be getting along with women like him. So this is So it's kind of a win for the HBD. It's a win for the evolutionary psychology. And so then it comes down to this. there's a land where the redheads twerk. Beautiful redheads twerk. I've seen images from these lands. They lie east of France. You know, they're east of Eden or something like that. And you know, and many men want to go there, and they want to find these women, because you see in America, what you see is when you see women twerking, it's black women on police cars after a riot. No redheads, no beautiful redheads to be seen, twerking in glory and of their gingerness. Not at all. But somewhere they live, and that's what these guys are trying to find, ladies. Where the redheads twerk, the hot gingers twerk.